Hey everyone, Paulie here from HardDrive Radio, sitting down in the studio today with Shane Told of the band Silverstein. It's good to see you, man.
Hello.
Thanks for coming to see us.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I mean, it is just probably the most amazing day for you right now. It's release day for your 10th studio album, A Beautiful Place to Drown. You got a sold-out show tonight in New York City. I mean, you got to be riding pretty high at this point.
Yeah, I don't know. This was all planned very well by someone, and it's great to be here. Thank you for having me in the studio.
When you first started out, the band, did you ever think you'd make it to, 20 years, 10 albums deep?
No, I didn't even know if we'd make it to like 2 months. I mean, the band was started as a side project. A lot of people don't know that. We were all in other bands, and this was just, at the time, the music we were playing was very different, and it was just for fun. In the basement, we thought maybe we'd play a show, maybe we'd record something. So when you say 10 studio albums, 20 years, it's pretty nuts.
It's impressive by any means. I mean, it ain't easy to make a living in music, but you guys have definitely done pretty well for yourselves, and the fact that you're here today is an absolute testament to that skill.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, the last real job I worked was something like 18 years ago at a Coca-Cola bottling plant, and I'm glad I don't have to do that anymore. It was my job to keep the bottles from falling over, and I couldn't do that. They fell every single time. So yeah, so it's good to be able to be here and playing rock music in New York City for a living is pretty incredible.
It's important to find something you're good at, and you're a fairly good singer, guitar player. So I feel like you found your
thank you. I can count to 2.
Yep.
But I can't keep the bottles upright. But I can sing and play guitar. So there's something to be said there.
And of course, I'm being a little facetious. You're of course an amazing vocalist, amazing guitar player. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. Let's talk about the new album, A Beautiful Place to Drown. Tell us when you started the work on this one.
Well, I think ever since the last one came out, pretty much like release day, you're already thinking about the next album. Mm-hmm. It's been so long since the last record came out. So, you start getting the wheels turning and you start hearing what people say about the album. Do they like it? Do they like this particular song more than this one? And so we just started writing, and we put together these little bits and pieces of songs and we sent them back and forth. And then I guess it was probably last summer that we really started putting the songs together. We recorded the record in the fall, and we went pretty hard in the studio. We spent a lot of time. We booked a lot of time. I think as you get older as a band, it's important to set that time. I think a lot of bands end up, not to say they phone it in, but they say, oh, we got this. We've done this 9 times before. It's easy. It's like, it doesn't get easier to make records. It gets harder, and you got to put in the time. So we were careful to really do that.
What studio did you go to? Who did you work with?
We worked in Toronto with a producer called Sam Guyana. At Union was the name of the studio. Beautiful new studio with a really old console. So we were able to get some really nice, natural, organic sounds in that place. And it was just a great experience. It was great to be in Canada, where we're right where we're from too,
How much of a gearhead are you? Are you really like getting into the nuts and bolts of every amp, every little plug-in that you're using, or is that kind of?
Yeah, I'm a total nerd for all that stuff, and it's funny now. A few records ago, they brought this thing called the Kemper out, and it's like we call it a space toaster, and it's just this green box, and it makes every amp sound ever, right? And I was completely against using this at first. And I used to we'd get like all these guitar amps. We'd have like 8 or 10 heads. We'd stack them up. We'd take a cool photo. And then it was just like my dream. I loved trying all the different amps. And then someone brought in the Kemper and was like, I don't know, man, this like amp really sounds good. I was like, I don't know. It doesn't feel right. So they took an old Marshall, JMP, which was like modded by the Bogner guy, like this insane amp. And then they took the fake version on the Kemper and they played them for me, without me knowing which was which. A-B'd them. And I got it wrong. Oh, wow. And I was like so sure that the one was the real amp, and I was wrong. But what was funny is that was a few albums ago, and for this album, we actually went back to a lot of real amps again. Old Fender amps and old Marshalls and stuff. And that was fun again to kind of bring us back a little bit to our roots of, of that, and I think it made it fun. But we still use the Kemper. Yeah, I won't lie. We still use the Kemper.
You can't argue, you know, the usefulness of digital recording these days.
Yeah.
Like I've talked to bands that are still like, oh, you know, we record the tape to get the sound, and then we import the tape into the digital to do the actual editing, because no one wants to sit there and cut tape all day.
Well, no, I mean, it's that, and just, you know, waiting for it to rewind. Yeah. People forget that. Like, you used to do a vocal take, and then, okay, well, let's wait for the tape to rewind and do it again. And then it's crazy. Like it was so time consuming. And nowadays, yeah, it's the technology really does help, and we embrace it.
Do you find that there maybe are moments where you would like for things to slow down, that things are maybe moving too fast when you're working through a record?
I don't know. I think that there's, you know, there's times when you really have to hit the brakes when you're in the studio and say, I don't like this part, or I don't think this lyric is right. And we need to stop. And if it takes an hour, if it takes 2 hours, if it takes a whole day, we have to get this part perfect. And I think that ability to know when to do that, when to kind of pump the brakes on an idea, and when to just kind of keep going, is a really important skill that you learn, you know, through experience in recording.
I was going to say that takes a certain amount of wisdom to know when something needs work and when you need to leave it alone, because you could probably just keep going forever fine tuning things.
Totally.
Right?
And I got to give our producer Sam credit for that as well. You know, being the sixth man, you know, there was really important, because our band, we were all pretty much there every day, every minute of this thing, and we all have opinions, and we all respect each other's opinions. Maybe that's why we've been a band for 20 years.
Probably.
So it was important, you know, sometimes to you know, say, okay, Shane has a strong opinion and Paul Marc has an opinion, and how can we kind of find the answer, you know? And that's always a challenging part when you're in the studio, and that's why you have a producer.
I mean, if they're doing their job right, they're supposed to be kind of herding the cats along, right? Making
Exactly.
You know, if this wasn't a complicated enough process, you also had a bunch of guests on this album as well, including our buddy Caleb Shomo from Beartooth and Aaron Gillespie from Under Oath. Like, how did these guys get involved with the project? Was it just a phone call? Were they in the area? How did it work out? Yeah,
it was just a text message, actually. Yeah, I mean, it was cool because we've done collaborations and features in the past. It's been a couple records since we had any. And the reason, though, I think they worked out this time was because the songs were a lot further. They were done a lot earlier in the process, to where we kind of already could imagine, okay, like, let's take, you know, the one guy you didn't mention was Pierre Bouvier from Simple Plan. So, you know, I thought his voice was going to fit perfectly on this song. And luckily we had like 4 more weeks of tracking. So I texted Pierre. I said, hey, man, I think you'd be perfect on this. He said, hell yeah, let's go. But I need like 2 weeks. Sometimes we don't have 2 weeks. So we were able to get them all going. And what was cool is we asked 5 people, and 5 people said yes. Nice. So we had you know, they all worked out. And that's why people were like, why so many features? It's like, well, we've tried on previous records. Just sometimes the time constraints or whatever. Sometimes labels, unfortunately, even, you know, say, it's a bad idea, don't do it. This time everyone was cool, and it worked out awesome. That's
awesome. I love to talk about, you know, collaborations, because I think that's something rock is finally kind of like understanding the importance of, and I feel like there's been a lot more collaborations lately. It's something that, you know, hip hop has been ahead of us for a long time.
For sure.
If you can feature another artist and kind of raise awareness for both of your bands, why not? Especially if it's going to fit well with the song.
Yeah. Look at Anthrax and Public Enemy. Totally. That was the one, man.
And they did that, what, 30 years ago?
Yeah, or Run DMC and Aerosmith. Yep. That video where Steven Tyler breaks through the walk this way. That's like my favorite. So yeah, I mean, they had it right back then. Mm-hmm. And now we're finally, you know, figuring it out. So yeah, it's awesome. And, you know, doing a collaboration with also Princess Nokia, you know, from a completely different genre. But yeah, we've apparently really inspired her music. She's from right here in New York City. So
the song was Madness?
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, being able to do something like that was really special too, and really different for us.
What, did you write that specifically with her in mind, or was that something that kind of came later in the process?
Well, the song we had, you know, the lyrics and the whole idea of what the message of the song was, and we had this sort of empty bridge we weren't sure what to put in. And it just made so much sense with the subject matter of the song to have a strong female take, you know, on the song. And yeah, again, we called her up and she was so excited to do it. And she dropped this verse, and it was great. So really, really couldn't have gone any better with the features.
Were you guys a fan of her work? That's why you knew about her?
Yeah, well, I wasn't too familiar with it. And then I can't remember exactly if she was wearing a Silverstein shirt on like her Instagram or something. And everyone's like, oh, look, and then we were like, oh, that's awesome. And we were here a couple years ago, and we invited her out to the show, and she came out and she brought her crew, and they were all so lovely. And then we just kind of kept in touch. And since then, I've become quite a fan of hers. So
that's amazing. I love how much of just like a community, music is for everybody, because it's anybody who's involved in this business, music is important to them. So if you meet somebody, even if you don't know that person, if they're working in this industry, that music is important to them. So you already have that one connection, and you can always go from there. That's something I love about meeting people in this business.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
Let's talk about the single that we're playing on HardDrive right now. It's a song called Infinite.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Thanks for playing it.
Absolutely. I'm happy to. I mean, thanks for writing good tunes, man. Makes it easy.
Okay.
No one's like, I want to play this terrible song. No, we want to play the good one. So thank you.
Nice.
Tell us a little bit about what went into creating the song.
Well, that features Aaron from Under Oath as well. And that's like one of my oldest buddies. I think we met in like 2004 or something like that. So again, we wanted some flavor in that second verse, and I just heard him singing that. I don't know what it was. So gave him a call, and he was like, absolutely, super down, and he sent it over. And I mean, I don't know, that song just, I think right when I heard the demo version that Paul Marc kind of created, I said, I don't know if this is a Silverstein song. And when you listen to how it starts, before the vocals come in, it's got this sort of strange, like almost EDM beginning, and sort of a weird ambient, like, I don't know what you even call it, right? So it really was a song that I right away was like, okay, we're really kind of going out on a limb here. And then I felt like it was my job to kind of put my stamp on it, and make it a Silverstein song. And then once we have those choruses come in, and it just lifts the song to like such a cool level. I don't know. It's just something we never tried before. And it's really, really cool that, finally, we're getting some play on radio stations such as yours. So
sorry it's taken us so long.
No, it's okay. Maybe it took us so long to give you what you craved. So it's just really exciting. And it's a song that people really seem to be latching on to, including our old fans, which I was really not sure what they were going to think. And we put it out, the first single, and I was like, okay. And everyone loved it. So it's nice when that works out.
Let's talk about fans for a minute, because a band with a legacy such as Silverstein, you're always going to have that vocal minority who's just like, oh, just make, the second album over again. Why do you keep doing new things? Like, do you ignore that? Do you listen to these people at all? Or do you sometimes wonder like, oh, maybe we've changed too much as a band? Does it get to you at all?
It doesn't get to me. No, I think everybody's has the right to their opinion, and I understand completely. You love something so much, and it means something, to you, and you want it again, and you want it over and over and over again. And, I've had bands that I loved, like I love Metallica, and they have let me down, several times. And these days, of course, with the internet, people can let you know if they're let down. Literally on your own personal social media, they can let you know. So I don't know. I think it's fine. Everyone has to evolve. We've put out a lot of records that our fans really liked, and I think this record we've maybe stepped a little further. Out of our comfort zone. We've a little bit more of a progression. That's okay, I think, I think there's still so much on this record for our fans, and even our oldest fans, to really grab onto. And it's still me singing, and I sound like me. I sound like Silverstein, for better or for worse. That's just the way it is.
I mean, I think one of the testaments of this band is that you guys have been so consistent for so long. I mean, Paul Marc is like maybe the newest guy, and he's been in the band for ages now. So
yeah.
Whatever you guys do together, it's going to sound like a Silverstein record.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Paul Marc was an incredible addition to the band when he joined. He brought in, another really great songwriter into the band, and it was right away. He just, he took to it, I'm thinking of an analogy, like a duck to water. He came in and he just started writing songs, and he had a different perspective because, people forget he's younger than us, and he was a fan of the band first. I remember him telling me the story of when he got our very first album, and he was playing it in his dad's car. Like, I don't know how old he would have been, 14 or something like that, right? And his dad goes, "What's with the screaming?" And he's like, "It's cool, Dad." And so him coming from that and then coming up with us and working for us for a while, he really was the perfect guy to come in the band because he could really see kind of all the perspectives, knowing how we work and knowing also, kind of what our fans want. So yeah, he's been really integral for the last, what has it been? 1, 2, 3, the fourth record he's been with us for.
Yeah, it's been quite a while at this point. He's the band. That's it.
Yep, exactly. I
want to talk about a couple more tracks on the album and start with the opening track, "Bad Habits."
Yeah.
Tell us about that one. What went into it?
Oh, it's a banger, dude.
Yeah,
like, we wrote that one and we had some arguments over how we were going to kick off the record. And I was a strong supporter of Bad Habits starting it off. I just love that it's got that dirty bass and like chorus right away. And then that song is it's so much excitement. Every part is awesome, and then all of a sudden there's a ripping, shredding guitar solo kind of that comes out of nowhere. So I don't know, that to me, that song it had such a cool vibe, and I really like the lyrical kind of content too. We throw it back to some old, shout out to our old records and stuff like that. And also it's just kind of a message that I think everyone can relate to, because let's be honest, we all have some pretty bad habits.
It's true.
Yes.
You did bring up something interesting though that I'd like to ask you about. How much time do you guys spend on the sequencing of a record and making sure every track is in the right place?
Oh my God, I pour over that, man. I always have. I can remember when I was in my last year of college and I was about to drop out to do the band because we got signed, and instead of I'm in biology lecture or something, instead of writing biology notes, I'm like writing which tracks we're going to put on our record and like crossing it out, and 1 to 12, and and this is where side A and side B. So we think about everything when we do that. It isn't just a matter of throwing the songs in random order. And what I think was really interesting too is, when we release singles before a record comes out, they're kind of random, and a lot of people today, because the record came out today, they've been saying, "Oh, now that I hear the whole record, I understand why those singles are where they are and the flow to the album and why they kind of make sense." So yeah, it's something we really, really do, especially me, take a lot of care.
Good. It shows. I mean, listening to a Silverstein album tells us. I mean, even the conceptual albums that you guys have put out in the back, it tells a story, and there's always a flow to it. That's something I've always appreciated about the band. So your hard work is noticed. Thank you.
Thank you.
One of the other things I love about this album in particular is the cover art. It's so cool.
Yeah.
Who is the artist? Where'd the idea come from?
I forget the artist's name. Uh-oh. We had to fire someone first. It's funny how that happens, if we take a lot of care in the track listing and the sequencing, we take even more care in the artwork, and I think we've kind of had an interesting approach because the first 7 albums we did were all the same artist, and they were all hand oil painting, and that was great, and we really loved that all of our albums kind of tied together. And then with our last record, Dead Reflection, we wanted to do something completely different, and then with this record we kind of wanted to again. We felt like that was the right thing, but it was really difficult. Just to be completely honest, the record's called A Beautiful Place to Drown. We didn't want it to be too on the nose with hey, water, hey, body in the water drowning. We wanted to do something a little more artistic and a little more deeper than that. So it was difficult to kind of find the right artist conceptually that could put that together. And once we did, we were super happy with it. And we love the color purple. So
it's a great color, and I'd love to see more purple albums.
Yes, I'm very black today, but
it's all right. It's metal. We'll take it. How much of a hand do you guys have in, the visual design for, like, say, merch and other visual aspects?
Oh, a huge,
super involved?
Oh yeah, super involved. We all everything gets run through us. We have to have 5 yeses on every shirt design and all that stuff. It's super important, because that's that's a real connection that we have with our fan base, and that's what our fans see, and that's what they're gonna wear, and we want it to be cool. We don't want anything that we wouldn't wear, I guess. Although sometimes some stuff slips through the cracks. Like for a while when all the bands were doing like the neon full print, like that trend. There was like a monster puking the band name or something in fluorescent green. I was like, yeah, I can't get behind this. But, the trends come and go, and we navigate them the best we can.
Could never go wrong with the black t-shirt, man. Always go with black.
That's right.
Yeah.
Black, white, and red.
There you go. For the run that you guys are on right now, you're doing a huge 20th anniversary tour for the band. What kind of planning goes into a run like this? Because you're playing a huge set. It's 3 different sets.
Yeah.
When did you even start the production process for putting this all together?
Over a year ago. Yeah. For sure. It was hard to know what to do. A band like us, we have a lot of material. We thought about maybe doing multiple nights in cities, in maybe medium-sized venues, doing multiple albums. We weren't really sure what to do. And then after a while, we just decided, I think that's asking a lot of people to come to 2 nights in a row. Let's just do one big-ass show everywhere and blow it out, and let's just give them a long show, and so we're doing, playing 2 hours, 3 sets, doing some stuff we haven't done before, like an acoustic set, which is fun for me because I get to play more guitar and, do some kind of more mellower stuff, which I enjoy. But yeah, it is a lot, to figure out the routing, where we're going to be, make sure we have the right venues. We didn't want to have any venues that didn't make sense. We wanted to be able to use, our full production that we're bringing and everything, but it's never easy. And then, in the rest of the year, we're going to be, hopefully doing more of that too. Hopefully another tour in the fall, and just kind of really embracing and celebrating, our past, but at the same time being able to have this new record and, be like, hey, we're still awesome.
For a 2-hour set, how do you prepare yourself physically? Because I got to imagine it's exhausting to perform that long.
Yeah, it is. And I'm not a huge warming up guy as much as some people are. I have some friends that they'll warm up for an hour. If I do that, I'm done before I even start, So for me, I just do kind of some, gentle warm ups and sing a little bit before. I don't do much more than 5 or 10 minutes, and that suits me well. Some people are different, the other guys, the guitar guys are always doing all these different stretches, but keeping a guitar or a bass on your shoulder for 2 hours it's pretty laborious too. So, I don't know. It definitely is a good question, because this isn't something we do every day, but the one thing I know is when we get off stage, I need to just chill for give me a good 10 just to, just kind of clear my head and
How have the audience reactions been to these sets? I mean, are you getting the usual amount of energy you get from your fans, or are you just getting a lot more because of the massive event that this is?
Yeah, I think people are really excited, and it's kind of cool too. Once you start the tour and you start posting pictures, we got confetti cannons and we got fire and all this stuff, people see that and they're like, oh my God. And then I think that revs them up even more. So yeah, they're coming out in droves and they're staying till the end. That's another thing too. We were like, damn, 2 hours is a lot for people in a weekday. People got stuff going on in their lives, So we were a little concerned, but everyone's staying till the end. Everyone's rocking out so hard, and it's just a beautiful thing.
I think looking at the way these shows have been received by your fans, it's got to be just the cherry on top for the Sunday that is this band, and you guys have got to be feeling validated. That's what I'm trying to say.
Validated.
Yes,
I love that word.
Yes.
Yeah, I think so. It's interesting. We look back and back in the heyday of our band and when we were at kind of what people want to call our peak, back in when Discovering the Waterfront came out, or those records that are the classics now. And at the time, we always did well. We were never a huge band. We were never getting played on the radio. We had a little bit of MTV play here and there. We did well at shows, but, they weren't putting me on the cover of magazines and all that, So finally to be, validated is a great word. To feel like, wow, it's been 20 years and we're selling out these shows and we're still here. We've never gone away. We've never gone on hiatus, and it's cool really just to, that, back in the day, we were right. Yeah. We were doing it the right way, obviously, and our music has stood the test of time. For people to be still so excited about it, it's amazing.
Let's kind of dip back into the time machine here for a minute and think back, 20 years starting out, and maybe even before that. Let's actually go back for you personally. When did you get your first guitar? And what was it?
Okay. I got my first guitar when I was about 11. So my dad plays guitar, and always had like some acoustic guitars kind of kicking around the house, and he'd play once in a while, like Puff the Magic Dragon or something like that. So I was like kind of interested in it, and my mom was like listening to records like Led Zeppelin and Jimi Hendrix, but I never thought of like actually doing it until I heard Metallica. And I heard the song One, the really rapid machine gun ending, and I just said to my sister, she's 7 years older than me, I said, I want to do that. How do I do that? Is that guitar or is that drums? Because I didn't know. It's both. Yep. But she's like, I think it's guitar. So I'm like, I need a guitar. So it was kind of like a couple weeks later, I'd been kind of telling my parents, I want to get, get an electric guitar. And we were at a Sears outlet store, like where they have all the clearance crap, and they had these folding tables of guitars, and just no cases. Most of them were missing strings. And on the back of the guitar, someone had written in Sharpie the price. So someone wrote on the back of this one, $25. And I don't know if it was supposed to be $125 or $250, but there was some kind of mistake. And my dad said, how about this one? And I was like, Dad, it doesn't have all the strings. He's like, it's okay. We can get some more strings for it. So that was my first guitar.
That's amazing.
And my dad showed me a couple things, and then I actually got some lessons, and I learned. My guitar teacher was he was really intense about knowing my notes, and I had to my first lesson, I was only allowed to touch the high E string. The second lesson, I was only allowed to touch the two high strings, and then after 6 weeks, I could play all the strings. So I learned very slowly, and I learned all the theory and the notes, and I think that really helped me out. But I sold that damn guitar. I wish I still had it. I had it the whole time. It said the Sharpie didn't come off. So it said $25 on the back of it.
All right, well, if somebody has a guitar that says $25 on Sharpie in the back of it,
yes,
hit us up. Let us know.
A black profile. I remember a kid came to my house. I sold it for like $75. I was stupid. Yeah.
Hey, you tripled your investment.
I did.
When did you discover that you were also just a really great singer? Like, when did you find your voice?
I didn't. I still don't even know if that's true. But I think it's funny with lead singers, and I have a podcast where I talk to other lead singers. And this is such a common theme, is that no one really starts off being a lead singer. Everyone is a guitar player or a drummer or something, and then they're just a group of friends. No one can really sing that well, and they just get kind of nominated because they're the only one in the room that can carry a tune. And over time, you get better. And I mean, it's really funny if you look back in my 7th grade yearbook, which I actually looked at recently, and there's several comments that say, "Too bad you can't sing." I should find it and take pictures of it, because it was I wasn't good. I tried and I wasn't good, and over time, it's like anything, you get better. And I think that the latest record is definitely my best work vocally. And being on stage for 2 hours, I've been feeling really good about how it's going.
Do you work with a vocal coach at all, or take lessons or anything like that?
No, I took
just a couple raw natural talent. Huh?
I guess I took a couple random lessons. Like, my mom was encouraging me when she saw the comments in the notebook, in the yearbook. She's like, "Okay, let's get someone in here." I took like a couple lessons, and I didn't really learn anything. People didn't really understand what I was trying to do. I would play them bands like No Effects and Rancid, and they'd be like, "What? You want to sound like Tim What? That guy is barely. What is that even?" So yeah, so they didn't really get it, and it wasn't until I think Discovering the Waterfront had come out, and I decided, hey, I'm going to see this lady, Melissa Cross, right here in New York. And she showed me some warming up techniques and stuff. And she gave me a lot of confidence, too. I think so much of singing is confidence. Like, I remember I sent her the record, and we came in, and she's like, Shane, you're amazing. And I was like, I'm amazing? And that's all it took, really. And then I felt amazing, and that's so much of what singing is.
That's got to feel good. I mean, getting the nod of confidence like that.
Yeah.
How supportive have your parents been of your musical career? It seems like
they've been insanely supportive. I mean, I have a very small, close knit family. I just have one sister. Like I said, she's 7 years older than me, and she showed me the ropes of rock music and all the cool bands, and took me to my first show, Metallica, Danzig, and Suicidal Tendencies. What a good first one. I walked in on Mike Muir of Suicidal Tendencies on a rant, talking about, if you do what you believe in, that's suicidal. If you say, I don't care what the man says, and you say, authority, that's what being suicidal is. And I'm 11 years old or 12 years old being like, I thought suicidal was when you were going to kill yourself. But I learned some stuff that day. But no, my parents have been so supportive of music. And it was always like when we, every Christmas and birthday, I wanted a new pedal, or I wanted a new, some piece of gear. And they always, they drove me to the gigs, and they let our band play like in the basement. I remember just hearing the bass player and the drummer in the basement of the house. And I was up there talking to my parents, and it's like the whole glass coffee table is rattling, and they're trying to watch TV. And I'm like, why are they letting us do this? So yeah, shout out to Joyce and Hando and my parents for being, incredible and still incredible.
Well, let's flip that around now. Being where you are in your career and the accomplishments you've had, it's time for you to give your inspirational speech to the kids out there watching this who want to play rock and roll for a living.
Which camera?
That one right there.
Oh man, I think it doesn't matter how good you are. It doesn't matter how fast you can play, how you can sing. None of that matters at all. You just have to believe in what you want to do, and believe in a message and art, and enjoy it. And eventually you'll get better. Everyone gets better at everything that they do. And that's kind of my story. Here I am 20 years later. I never thought I was going to be a musician on any kind of professional level. I didn't have a plan A or a plan B. There was no plan. I just played, and then eventually we got to some level where our music got good enough, and somebody called and said, okay. And I said, all right, I guess I'll drop out of school. But until I was about 22, I didn't think I was going to have any musical career. I thought I'd just be, I was taking science in university. That's what I was doing. So keep it up, and enjoy it. Don't worry about social media either. Worry about playing your instrument. Don't worry about that side. That's
absolutely the best advice that I've heard yet, man. And I'm so glad that things have worked out for you, and the band has been as successful as it is, because we are all the richer for it. So thank you for all the music that you've made over the years. Thank you for this victory lap of a 20-year anniversary tour that you guys are crushing right now.
Yeah.
You're on the road right now. Please go see Silverstein. They're one of the most amazing live bands you'll ever see, and they will play for 2 hours, which is definitely worth just going to see the spectacle itself.
Come hang.
Shane, thank you very much, man.
Thank you, man. Thank you.